Folks, Restream is really acting wonky. It's not me that's been discombobulated over the last few days. It's this stupid program. So, here's the thing. Whenever I schedule something, it goes into a queue and it schedules to multi channels. Anyway, they've changed up some stuff. I messed up based on what they changed. In my defense, the change wasn't readily noticeable. But here I am. Now, let's see if we can salvage some of this. Good morning, Terry Crooks. We got a really good listener question. Let me take a couple of seconds of silence, literally like for the count of 1,000, and then I will do my static intro. So after the fact, I can edit it there and upload it better for a podcast. Incidentally, be sure to go to Apple Podcast, Spotify, TuneIn Radio, Podbean, and you can catch these after the fact. Also, once I get over I'm hard-headed and I didn't take medicine and I let what would have been a little bitty head cold go down into my chest. I don't know if you can hear it or not, but I ain't dying. I'm just got a little hole in the pocket of my shirt. That's about the equivalent of the problem here. I was feeling very, very puny last night, and I slept, so that's good. Anyway, y'all don't care about my health update. Let me get in here. I'm gonna count to 1,000. Then we're gonna answer this listener question about elders and the children thereof, and how they can serve, and if they can serve the elders, not the children. What's up, folks? This is Tony Brewer. You're listening to Cogitations. Cogitations is the podcast where we think about things, we contemplate them, we turn them over in our minds, and then we discuss them. Daniel chapter 7, verse 28, Daniel writes, "Hitherto is the end of the matter. As for me, Daniel, my cogitations much troubled me. My countenance changed in me, but I kept the matter in my heart." We are not going to keep the matter in our heart. We're going to talk about it. Today, we're going to talk about elders. If one or more of an elder's children fall away after they've grown and married and moved out of the house, can that elder still serve? Is he still eligible to serve in the eyes of God? It's a good question. It's a question gets answered or gets asked quite often. And I think a lot of people are scared of the answer. I have a little different take on elders and children. I don't believe what many of my contemporaries believe. I do not believe that an elder has to have children that have been baptized into Christ in order to serve as an elder. And there's there's one piece of keystone information, or one piece of a keystone piece of logical reasoning that has brought me to this conclusion. And I didn't think of it. Somebody told me to it. Told it to me, and I'm not going to tell you who it is because I don't want to. I just want to tell you, and I want to let the merits of the reasoning stand on their own. Because the person that I talked to about this that convinced me of my position currently, he's a pretty preeminent gospel meeting, gospel lectureship, PTP. He makes the rounds. They use him everywhere. So, I mean, like, this guy's not a fly-by-nighter. He's sound, you know him. But anyway, thank you very much, Dana Harden. And I don't feel bad now. Of course, that I slept last night, buddy. I mean, I slept. But I think that helped me more than anything. Let's get right into it. All right. Well, fine. Actually, no, that's a lie. Let's not get right into it. Hold on a second. I got a weird... Okay, good deal. Bear with me. All right. Now, good morning, Connie. Connie, the way I would pronounce your name, Narano? Connie Narano? But I feel like I need to put a breath. Narajo? No, I don't know. I'm gonna stop while I'm ahead. Or maybe I'm just going to stop. I'm not ahead. All right. So I just want what I say to stand on its merits. And I don't want to borrow credence from the person that I talked to about this. Anyway, let's get right into it. Boy, actually, no, before we get right into it. Christianity Now streams on YouTube. Be sure to subscribe and give us a thumbs up. Interact with the live stream. Also, comment as I'm going through this information that I have to disseminate. As you think of questions, maybe even if you think of objections, put it in the comment section. I'll get to it at the end of the information. Typically, we go about an hour, sometimes an hour and a half, but usually 30 or 45 minutes. And then the rest of the show is questions and comments from the audience. So, yeah, as far as some housekeeping stuff, I'm sharing in the comment section a link to a video where Aaron Dotson reviewed a Bible. It's Connie says I did good. Awesome. New King James, double column, verse by verse. Each verse begins on a new line. Highly sought after text block for the New King James. Goatskin bound, stitched down, Smith sewn, all that good stuff. Superb quality Bible. Lightly used because, we ain't rich. We just good looking white boys. But if you join in Saturday night, that was probably racist now that I said that. That's something that we used to say growing up, or that was said growing up all the time. Well, them folks ain't rich. They just good looking white folk. I don't know. Maybe it's not racist. Anyway, whatever. It was said in innocence. I'm not rich. We ain't rich. We just make a good show. Now, Saturday night, I don't know. I'm talking to Aaron about the time. It'll either be 7 Central Standard or 8 Central Standard, maybe as early as 6. I'm 2 hours ahead of Central Standard. So if we have it at 8 o'clock Central Standard, that would mean I'm doing a live stream from 10 to 11 or 10 to midnight. I would like to start it a little earlier, but late enough to catch as many people as possible because, that's just the way we want to do. So anyway, check out this video in the comment section. And, And then Lebeth's Substack, the Mindful Soul Substack. This today is Lebeth's birthday. My birthday was the 6th. Lebeth's birthday is the 17th today. And if you want to give her a birthday present, go check out beamindfulsoul.substack.com. Now, one more thing. I'm going to leave this up for the rest of the show. So, the question we're dealing with today came to me from the private message system on Facebook. I have no qualms. Do that. That's fine. But the problem is, if you're not my friend on Facebook and we haven't had any interactions, your message goes into what's called a message request folder. And it does not populate a notification on my phone, nor does it populate a notification where I normally check my DMs. So I think this question has been hanging out since October the 9th. And this is a good question. I would have covered it. I would have probably covered it the next day, maybe a couple days later, depending on what I had in the queue. So for show topics and questions, if you want to make sure I get them and I get them in a timely manner, ChristianityIsNow@gmail.com. That's ChristianityIsNow@gmail.com. And thank you from Terry Crooks. Happy birthday to you and your wife. Thank you very much. I'm 47 and she's younger than me. I'm 47. Yesterday, I graduated high school. This morning, I got married and had some children. And about an hour ago, I graduated from the Memphis School of Preaching and started preaching as a vocation. That's the way I feel currently sitting here. It's crazy. Anyway, show topics and conversation, or show topics and questions, send an email to christianityisnow@gmail.com. And then as you're listening to this, consider supporting us. We would love it. We need it. I have found we're going to start ramping up. We need the advertising budget. That's why we ask for your support. And that's all I'm going to say about that. Let's get going. All right. Can an elder faithfully serve having children outside of his home that have grown up, well, let me just read the question. I'm teaching a ladies class, and the question has come up about eldership. The question was asked is, if a man can be an elder if his children or child, after they are grown, are not faithful. I've heard this preached both ways. Then they ask, what if he has one adult child that is faithful and one is not? It's a good question. First off, I lied about the caption here. I'm going to change the caption just for a moment to this. There it is. Regardless of what we think, God is the final judge, and he will do right. Now, that's Genesis 18:25. Well, that's not good. I just tripped. I'm glad it didn't land on my keyboard. All right. Folks, there's some judgment here. I think God, in his infinite wisdom, purposefully made these prerequisites a little vague. They're open to interpretation in some of them. And now, how do you might ask, well, Tony, how in the world do you tell what's open to interpretation? Well, first off, we got to understand what open to interpretation means. Open to interpretation doesn't mean it's just open to interpretation. Watch this. Today is my wife's birthday. I put a little money aside. I'm going to take her out to a nice Italian restaurant that's here in town called Gusto's. We have a reservation. Now, all of that stuff is just for instance. I am cutting in and out. That's not good. Does everybody else hear that I'm cutting in and out as well? I hope not. Let me know. I shouldn't be. Everything looks good. All right. I'm going to keep going. All right. Paige Perry says, okay, Kim, it may be something dealing with Facebook. Because as I'm looking at the comments aggregate, you're on Facebook and everybody else is on YouTube. And the people that are saying that it's good are on YouTube. So I don't know what to do. All right. God in his infinite wisdom made this stuff open to interpretation. Now, what does open to interpretation mean? Because I can say, today is my wife's birthday. I'm taking her to a swanky, fancy Italian restaurant. We had to make reservations, and our reservations are at 6 p.m. tonight. Now, that's not true. That's a for instance. But let's say that it were true. Well, that is open to interpretation. You have to interpret that. Anything that you hear, any piece of information that you take in, whether it's verbal, whether it's nonverbal, whether it's verbal and nonverbal, any information, any stimuli, you have to interpret. So then the phrase open to interpretation doesn't mean anything by itself. What does open to interpretation means? It means that it's open to multiple interpretations that don't do damage to the source material. All right? Like, for instance, yeah, that's crazy. Look, Facebook don't always play nicely. I and Facebook are angry with one another, evidently, because the Christianity Now Facebook page, I can't even find it. Like, it's not that it's downranked. in the algorithm and shadow banned where you can find it sometimes. I search for Christianity Now Facebook page in Facebook, it will not come up. I don't know what's going on. They certainly will take my money and let me boost a post. And if I boost a post, it goes nuts. But anyway, I don't know what's going on. I'm thinking about just completely getting rid of everything on Facebook, burning it down to the foundation, and then starting to build it back up from scratch and see what happens. I don't know. Maybe it'll work. Maybe it won't. Open to interpretation means open to multiple interpretations that don't do damage to the text. I'll use the gift of the Holy Spirit. The gift of the Holy Spirit in Acts 2:38 can be interpreted one of three ways that don't do damage to the text. Oh, Kim Wade, I'm so sorry. I just took for granted that everybody knew. That'd make a good podcast, wouldn't it? Don't take for granted that somebody knows. Christianity Now streams. Christianity Now streams. I am going to copy and paste a link into the comments section. Hey, Alabama, you can find it? Well, I wonder why I can't. That's nuts. I ain't proud of this. I got mad, like irrationally mad. And I had to like woosah a little bit before I did something stupid. All right. I hope that don't make you think less of me. But here's the link to the Christianity Now streams YouTube channel, and just watch the streams from there. If you subscribe, hit the notification bell. I try my best to go live Tuesday through Friday. I'm working on something for Monday, but I'm observing the Proverbs 27:1-2 rule on that. Okay, regardless of what we think, God is the final judge and he will do right. You can interpret the gift of the Holy Spirit in Acts chapter 2, verse 38, one of three ways, and don't do any damage to the text. He that believeth and is baptized shall be saved. He that believeth not shall be damned. Mark 16:16. You cannot interpret. You cannot interpret that but one way, because interpreting it any other way is damage to the text. So even it is open to interpretation, but there's only one interpretation that will not do damage to the text. So whenever we read these qualifications for elders, Christianity Now streams. Christianity Now streams. Sorry, I realize Facebook's going in and out, so you might not have got it. There is a link in the comment section. Actually, Deborah O'Neill on Facebook just replied to you. Go to YouTube and just type in Christianity Now streams. But if you click Deborah's link, I think she actually linked the live stream in the Facebook comment section, where I can only do it in the chat aggregate, and you'll see it on the Facebook, or you should. Anyway, so it won't let me. So Kim, just if it won't let you click on the link, then just go to Christianity Now streams on YouTube. Just go to YouTube, and in the search bar, type in Christianity Now streams, and that should get you. All right. Open to interpretation. When we look at the guidelines for elders in Titus and Timothy, there are some interpretations that don't do damage to the text. And there are interpretations that do damage to the text. For one, an elder must be the husband of one wife. You can't interpret that any other way than one wife. In fact, the Greek doesn't put it as an elder must be the husband of one wife. That's a smooth translation. A verbatim translation, well, closer to verbatim, would be more along the lines of a man who seeks the office of a bishop must be possessed by one woman. That's that's the Greek translation. That's why that if an elder's wife dies, you can romantically say, well, he's still, he's still married. They didn't come unmarried, and he's just waiting to join her in the afterlife. Yeah, that's true, but that don't cut it for elders, because whenever a man's wife dies, he's no longer one woman's man. He is zero women's man. Therefore, he no longer meets the requirements. And you can't interpret that any other way. You have to add to the text to interpret it any other way. Because what people do is they'll add to the text and they'll say, well, it's one woman's it's being one woman's man while he's seeking the office. But once he gets the office, if she dies, he can still hold the office. Well, no, you can't interpret it that way, because it's one woman's man, period. It's a daimi, and I know I'm butchering the pronunciation of the Greek, but there's two Greek prepositions, day and emi, and both of them imply continual state of being. That's it. Mr. Dementor, mine was freezing on Facebook as well. I don't know what's going on, quite frankly. I'm glad I'm recording this before it ever goes anywhere, so I've got a good audio for the recording. Maybe we can salvage some of this. Maybe you folks listening on YouTube are actually having some kind of good experience. Probably what's going to happen, what I may do is I may stop streaming altogether on Facebook and start cutting these live streams up in smaller sections and uploading them on Facebook and just doing it that way. Facebook and YouTube just don't get along. Oh yeah, it could be weather related. Hey, Alabama, I didn't think about that. All right. So let's walk down this information that I have. Elderships and the faithfulness of children. So the Bible provides clear qualifications for elders, particularly regarding the management of their households. I think that's the key takeaway here. Whenever you think about elders and children, you've got to think about in the house. And you've got to think about the reason the prerequisite was given. Danny Mentor, cool. But I figured so, Mr. D. Mentor. That's what I was thinking. Danny Mentor, awesome. Good to see you. Good to have you with us. And I knew you was with us before, but. So, a common question arises about this. If if one of their children who is grown falls away, or if all of their children fall away, or if they only have one child and that child falls away, can that elder still serve? Well, let's think about it. Awesome. I'm so glad to hear YouTube is working well. YouTube has really come on. They've upped the shorts to 3 minutes now. They're really trying to compete with TikTok. On TikTok, you can upload maybe as much as an 8-minute video. They may have done more. So the Bible teaches that elders must have, well, let's just see, Titus 1:6. If any be blameless, the husband of one wife, having faithful children, not accused of riot or unruly. And then in Timothy, Paul further elaborates, 1 Timothy 3:4-5, an elder must rule his own house well. 1 Timothy 3:4-5. One that ruleth well his own house, having his children in subjection with all gravity. For if a man know not how to rule his own house, how shall he take care of the children of God? Now, the word faithful is semantically overloaded. Ain't that the truth? Yeah, YouTube or Facebook, neither one allows the content TikTok allows. In fact, there's a lot of Christian content creators that have found a pretty profitable niche on TikTok, quite frankly. I just don't have the bandwidth for it. I do not have the bandwidth. It's just different than my skill set. I think it could be the Dunning-Kruger effect. I could think I'm an expert and actually just be stupid. Folks, what I'm about to say is very important. The way we interpret Bible verses is when we have two verses that both give instruction, they're both prescription about the same thing. We don't interpret those verses at odds with one another. We use one verse epexegetically. That means we use one verse to explain another. It's no different with elders. Listen, if any be blameless, the husband of one wife, having faithful children, not accused of right or unruly. The word faithful is semantically overloaded. Why would we interpret the word faithful as baptized into Christ and faithful Christians? We're talking about children. Now think about how the Bible defines children. Do you really think we're talking about 15, 16, 17-year-old humans that have obeyed the gospel? During this time, by the time you was 15 to 18, you was preparing a house to, if you were a man, you were preparing a house to court a woman. You've already traded for her. You're off preparing a place for her and you're going to come back and get her. That's Paul would be speaking from this paradigm. His illustrations would be rooted in the Jewish traditions. Don't interpret this through a lens of Western civilization, Western culture, because we infantilize our children. We have children. I know grown men, way grown. I'm talking about in their 30s, living at home with their mothers and fathers because they can't make it out on their own. Oh, they could if they dug in. Folks, we're not talking about faithful children baptized into Christ. Because 1 Timothy 3, 4 through 5 is epexegetical. Listen, what do you mean, Paul? So I'm going to call, I'm Titus, all right? I'm calling Paul. Hey, Paul, what do you mean having faithful children? You've used this word faithful, pistos or pistis. It has a broad meaning. What do you mean? Well, let me tell you what I told Timothy. Ooh, a better illustration. Hey, Timothy, what's up? This is Titus. Okay. Yeah, I got a question. Have you talked to Paul lately? Well, no, he sent me a letter though. I got a job. I got to go around and preach some stuff. He gave me he gave me a letter to tell me what I needed to preach. Did he include anything about elders? Because I'm confused. What's it mean, elders having faithful children? Oh, well, just having his children in subjection with all gravity. Well, why do you think Paul wrote that? Why do you think he told me I had to install elders that had faithful children? Well, because if a man don't know how to rule his own house, he can't take care of the church. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to install elders that have good kids that are well behaved, that are in the home. Now, if his children, Timothy could say, now, if his children are grown up and out of the home, I'm going to talk to people and talk to him about how they behaved while they were in the home. Well, yeah, Timothy, but so what if his children are grown? What if he has a 35-year-old grown child that's married and has 12 children of his own, but he's not faithful to God? Well, yeah, but the elder don't have any control over that. The man in question doesn't have any control over that. How can he be held accountable for what a grown adult did? Talk to the people. Talk to him. How was he as a father? I think that's the way that conversation would go. I think that's the way that conversation would go. So again, and you don't need to take this too far, but these qualifications are intended to ensure that a man is capable of managing the church by first demonstrating leadership within his own family. So the focus is on children under their father's authority. The qualifications concerning children primarily focus on the father's ability to manage his household while his children are under his authority. Again, Titus 1:6 refers to the faithful children, which applies, according to Titus 1:3-4, would apply to those children in the house. That's how we would interpret that. And if you consider Titus 1:6 a base, and then 1 Timothy 3:4 epexegetical, then faithful children just means children who are in subjection with all gravity. We have to add weight to Titus 1:6 and the term faithful if we interpret it as children that are baptized into Christ who have obeyed the gospel. But that's not even what this podcast is about. And you could also think, well, wait a second. Tony, if you're saying faithful children just means children that are in subjection with all gravity, well, I don't get it, because it says faithful children in Titus. Let's have another mental exercise. Go back to the first century. You're Timothy. Timothy's list does not include faithful. It just says having his children in subjection with all gravity. Can Timothy install elders without Titus's list? If the answer is yes, then you have to concede that faithful children are not a prerequisite, as in faithful children who have obeyed the gospel is not a prerequisite. If you admit that Titus could install elderships from his list alone. Timothy. Titus could install elderships from his list alone, because I believe he would understand the nuance behind faithful children. I really do. But for us, we don't have that base. So we're not going to understand all the nuance the way a native Greek speaker of the day would have read it. So anyway, once children are grown and leave their father's house, so they're no longer under his direct authority, and they are responsible for themselves. Whether or not, if Anthony gets married, has children, and then leaves the faith, that says somewhat of his ability to lead a household, not mine. Think about that. So, adult children and their own accountability, we need to talk about that. I'm so thankful that we've got comments piling up. Put them comments. Question me on this. It's okay if you disagree with me about a couple of these things. I'm not going to take offense to it. I am going to rebut, and I will lay out arguments why I believe you're wrong and I'm right. But that's the nature of having a conversation where two sides are represented. Doesn't mean I think any less of you. Even if I get impassioned, it doesn't mean I think any less of you. All right. When children reach adulthood, they become accountable for their own decisions and faithfulness. I think about Joshua 24:15. Choose you this day whom ye will serve. And he lays it out. He said, as for me and my house, we'll serve the Lord. My son Anthony is going to have to make that decision. I made that decision. Now his decision will reflect on me, but I have no responsibility for it whatsoever. In a technical sense. Now, in a practical sense, if I have shirked my duties as a father and this guy's just here's the thing. Practically, you don't have children that are reared in a home that is run well and then just all of a sudden, snap, they're just apostate when they get older. So understand just in a practical way. Speaking hypothetically, hypotheticals are really good for mental exercises, illustrations, but very rarely are they can a human being come up with a illustration, a hypothetical that is adequately complex enough to catch all the nuances of a particular thing that it's trying to illustrate. All right? That's just all I'm going to say about that. Now, the faithfulness of adult children who are no longer under the father's care does not directly reflect the father's ability to serve as an elder. Again, not directly. The man is judged on his ability to manage a household when his children were under his roof. So what about one child? Well, the situation where one child remains faithful and another departs from the faith after becoming an adult does not disqualify the man from serving as an elder either. So if he's got 3 children and 2 of them fall away and one of them remain faithful, that's the thing. Once you sit down and you get it settled that children outside of the home don't negatively reflect on the father as far as how he's able to lead a congregation, then this next question is rendered. Moot's not the right word. I'm looking for another word. But it answers itself. What if one adult child is faithful and one is not? He still can serve as an elder. But even so, the principle remains. Hold on just a second. All right, the principle remains, the soul that sinneth, it shall die. The son shall not bear the iniquity of the father, neither shall the father bear the iniquity of the son. The righteousness of the righteous shall be upon him, and the wickedness of the wicked shall be upon him. Ezekiel 18:20. Don't forget that principle. So the father's responsibility to rule his house ends with the boundary of his house. It ends when his children are no longer in his care. Once grown, their choices cannot disqualify the man if he ruled well during their upbringing. Now, if you're looking at whether or not a man can serve as an elder, and let's say he's 75 and all of his children are, the youngest child is 30, then you gotta talk to, even if his children are faithful, you need to ask that man what kind of father he was, how he ruled his house. Ask other people, ask his children, whether they're faithful or not. That's the thing. We don't think about that. Remember, there's a principle when it comes to church discipline amongst on elders. Like church discipline, you have to practice church discipline on elders from time to time. That responsibility falls to the evangelist, the local preacher. And the scripture says, lay hands suddenly on no man. Well, you lay hands suddenly on no man, meaning you don't put a man up in the eldership too quickly, but also you don't discard him too quickly either. You got to do your due diligence. Titus and Timothy would have done some work unless they could have known miraculously, but I don't think they could have known miraculously unless it was revealed. You say what that's Can of worms, forget I said that. All right. The qualifications for elders, as outlined in Titus 1:6 and 1 Timothy 3:4 through 5. They focus on how the elder manages his household while his children are under his care. Once children reach adulthood, they bear responsibility for their own faithfulness or unfaithfulness as it stands. The elder's qualifications should be based on his ability to lead his house and lead his household faithfully during the period when his children are under his roof, under his authority, and not on the choices of his grown children. So I hope I've answered that question respectfully and adequately. Let's see. And remember, regardless of what we think, God is the final judge. He will do right. Genesis 18:25. I love these comments. All right. Let's see. We need to learn the difference between children and young adults. Teenager is a cop-out word to excuse bad behavior. I think it's used for that a lot. We can't do less than the scriptures command, yet people want to base their world on one verse and stop there. Let us always seek to hear the whole counsel of God. Absolutely. Absolutely. And Connie, Connie, I forgot how I said your name. Naranjo or Narano? Anyway, Connie, this has helped me so much to have a better understanding. Thank you. Well, it's my pleasure, sister, and I appreciate your question. Let us consider the whole matter before jumping to conclusions. Absolutely. Good morning, Jenny Blackwell. Good to see you. And Connie at one point there said, very good point. I think that was whenever I was talking about you got to do some due diligence, you know. If we don't know someone well or only know them from church or church activities, we shouldn't be voting them into office of elder or deacon. Yeah. And when it comes to the qualifications of deacons, explicitly it says that that man must first be proven. Again, it's my pleasure. I appreciate it. I'm glad you found the answer valuable. Of value, sorry. I don't know why both of those things mean the same thing, but it just sounds different in my ears. Many a man holds office based on his wife and the way she keeps the children and the home because he doesn't participate much in that area. Absolutely. And incidentally, you wouldn't have to have one qualification for an elder's wife, although there is, based on the qualification for elders. If a man meets the qualifications for elders, I mean, if he really meets the qualification for elders, for a bishop, his wife is going to as well. Or his wife is going to meet the qualifications for an elder's wife. Sorry about that. Just by proxy. No, not by proxy, just by default. By proxy is something different. Anyway, but by virtue of the fact that he is known to have run a good house, that says as much about his wife as it says about him. If he rules well his own house with his children in subjection with all gravity, that says at least as much about her as it does about him. At least. That's why it's so important to have a Proverbs 31 woman. And if you've got a Proverbs 31 woman, she can still work if she wants. Go read Proverbs 31. That woman was a real estate agent. She was a mercantile buyer and seller. I mean, she had her hands in everything. That man was highly blessed. Man, my wife, y'all don't understand. If I was any better of a man than I am, if I was any better of a man than I am, I'd be president of the United States with a woman like that. In fact, the joke has been around forever. Insert whichever man and woman you won't, but I'll tell you how it was the first time I heard it. Bill and Hillary Clinton were visiting back home. They were in Hot Springs, Arkansas, and they saw this guy picking up trash. He's hanging on the back of a trash truck, and the trash truck stops. He gets down on the sidewalk, picks up puts the trash in, and they go on. And Bill Clinton says, "Hey, isn't that guy that you were dating that you broke up with so you could date me?" And Hillary says, "Yes." And he laughed. He says, "Well, think about it." He said, "If you'd have married him, you'd be the wife of a garbage man instead of the wife of a president." To which Hillary replies, "No, Bill, you got it wrong. If I'd have married him, I'd still be the wife of a president." There's a lot of truth in that. This is what blows my mind about elders in the Lord's church. We focus so much on having children that are faithful. I want to know about the man's wife. There are people who serve as elders who should not be serving as elders because their wife doesn't understand Ephesians chapter 5. I said what I said. If the household or children are running amok, it's blamed on the mom for some reason. Yes, it shouldn't be. It shouldn't be. A mother who isn't taking care of her children well, who's not cleaning the house well, who's not cooking, who's not doing all this, she's not what she should be, that's the husband's fault. That shows a weak-willed husband. And he's not, and it's the same principle as Adam and Eve in the garden. The snake talked to Eve, not Adam. Why? Because she did not understand Ephesians chapter 5. I understand Ephesians chapter 5 wasn't written yet, but the principle was in effect. The man was supposed to be in the lead. The woman was supposed to be following him. She was to help him, but it looked like she took the lead. That's why the snake talked to her. And I think that's why we have the curse of man in Genesis as it is. The world is now set up where it takes the sweat of your brow and the strength of your back, and women don't possess that kind of strength. They possess another kind of strength. But the problem is, in our modern society, we got it topsy-turvied. We've told women for the last 50 or 60 years that they need to go out and by the sweat of their brow and the strength of their back earn a living. You don't need no man. Well, okay. Let's let one major catastrophe hit, and we'll see how quick the gender roles switch. Go to the Ukraine and see how quick the gender roles switched. Not that sometimes the mom is to blame, but dad's not stepping up and making his children respect their mom. She's exasperated. Yes, I get. Sometimes that is the case. Yeah, the men need to do more. All right, guys, I've gone as far into this about as I can, and boy, I tell you what, you can tell. Listen, maybe I need to do a YouTube only stream because we've got 14 people in the Christianity Now streams YouTube. And that really is the best thing. I do the Facebook kind of as a habit. I know it's convenient because some people but with YouTube, especially if you pay for YouTube, it used to be called YouTube Red. What's it called now? Anyway, YouTube Premium or whatever. YouTube acts just like a podcast channel. You can actually turn your phone completely off. Oh, I just took a screenshot. I don't want to take a screenshot. That's what I get for trying to be clever. All right, one more time. You can turn your screen completely off and still listen to YouTube videos. Man, I use that a lot. I don't use a lot of podcast channels. I've been on YouTube Premium since back when it was YouTube Red. I love it. And anyway, yeah, it's a much better place to live stream. Right. Yeah, well, that's where I come in, Danny. Danny says, I don't get notified on here, unfortunately. That may be a good reason to always stream on Facebook as well and just try to get people to migrate over. Or I could, actually, I believe I can. I'm just going to try something here. All right. First off, hold on. Nobody is watching me on Facebook right now. So I'm going to end one of the streams on Facebook. I'm going to end the stream on cogitations. All right, we're going to save. Now I'm going to go to cogitations, and I'm going to see if I can. I'm going to see if I'm still streaming on cogitations. Well, we're not live anymore, but it says 32 minutes. Oh, that's interesting. It only got 32 minutes of the live stream on cogitations anyway. Let me go to Christianity Now. Yeah, some of the Facebook pages froze a while ago. I don't know what that is. Oh, yeah, it's done. Wow. Well, I'm going to have to go do some deleting and stuff because, yeah, on the Christianity Now, I've got a 21-second live stream. That's crazy. Oh, well. All right, folks. Yeah, Hey, Alabama says, me neither, or I don't either, Mr. Dementor. I don't even know how that works. No channel I'm on notifies me, even if I ask. Nor do I. And it don't. Absolutely don't. I've never gotten a Facebook notification. I listen to Tim Pool and a few others on YouTube, and they talk about it all the time. Facebook hides their stuff, or YouTube rather. YouTube hides their stuff. They downrank it in the algorithm, all that good stuff, and they've got like millions of followers. They have hundreds of thousands of followers above 1 million. I'll put it like that. Okay. Well, folks, I really appreciate every one of you. Remember, we are on Substack. I have my little deal here. Substack is the best way to support us if you want to monetarily support us. Go to Substack, share an article to your timeline, subscribe, and that way every time I release an article, every time Aaron Dotson releases an article, you'll get an email. I love Substack. It's amazing. Now, you can do $50 a year or $5 a month on Substack, and that really helps us out. If you want to do a one-time donation, you can do the tip jar, www.nearchurches@gmail.com, and that's PayPal. You can also send the P.O. Box. You can do that, and you can send us something directly. If you want the P.O. Box, send me an email, and I will send it to you. That way you ain't got to write like lightning speed. P.O. Box 99900 HR 567 317 RPO Mountain Road, Moncton, New Brunswick, E1C 0T1. And I said that so you can go back and listen to it if you want. But if you send me, If you send me www.christianityisnow@gmail.com an email, I'll send you the address. And you can also offer show topics and questions. We are on Twitter, X, aka Twitter, Christianity Now at 1 Chronicles 1232, 1 Chronicles 1232. We stream on Twitter. We share stuff on Twitter from time to time. Yeah, that's all I've got about that. Folks, Apple Podcast, Spotify, TuneIn Radio. We would love for you to subscribe to their Podbean, any place you listen to podcast. And we want you to subscribe on Christianity Now Streams, on YouTube. And what we would love is for all 14 of you to back out of the live stream chat and hit the thumbs up button. All the thumbs up that you give during the live stream chat, they just go for the live stream. But it's the ones that you, when you back out of the live stream chat and just look at the live stream as if it's a video that you found on YouTube, hit that thumbs up button. Man, that lets Facebook know, or that lets YouTube know that we're interactive. And that's all I've got, folks. Remember, the Mindful Soul, Be a Mindful Soul on Substack, Christianity Now Substack, www.patreon.com/Christianity Now. You can do $1 a month on Patreon or $1 million a month, whatever you choose. And you can do that and just set it and forget it. But that's all I've got, folks. God bless every one of you. Remember, elders, it's a little more nuanced than we like to think. Hopefully I've done the topic justice, and be sure to like, subscribe, and share Christianity Now streams. Have your eyes peeled for the scheduled notification of the live stream for Saturday night and the Bible giveaway. And that's all I've got. God bless every one of you. This is Tony Brewer on from Christianity Now, or Cogitations powered by Christianity Now. Awesome. D Mentor says, I'll come here when I see it on Facebook. That's what I'm going to try to do. Ooh. Greg James, it often happens. I wonder when a minister's wife is held higher than the elder's wife. Yeah. Hush your mouth. I can't even talk about that. It's time to stop the show. But you are correct. I see it all the time, and it shouldn't be. There is no prerequisites for a minister's wife. She can, and in fact, I got to stop. Folks, maybe we'll talk about that on Free for All Friday. God bless every one of you. That's been Tony Brewer with Cogitations powered by Christianity Now, and we'll